What is up, traders? Let's get into this weekly charting, weekly outlook video and see what we can put together for this coming week. All right, so first thing we're going to notice is on the weekly chart, and actually let's go to the monthly first just to kind of see. Still potentially under, we're at this potential monthly resistance level here. This was one of the last points before we pushed up on the monthly chart. So broke through, we're coming back down to retest right now. So we kind of see this area really pretty much right exactly where we're at. This whole little area here is a potential sell interest area on the monthly chart. So definitely something to pay attention to. And that area is going to be 20,331 to around 20,550-ish. So pretty much right where we're at. One thing to note on the monthly charts is that analysis takes a whole month, potentially, or 2 months to play out or more. So just something to keep in mind, that even though from this area we may be, kind of bullish or whatever, it doesn't mean it's going to play out today. Let's go to the weekly. So when we're looking at the weekly, this is what we'll start kind of drawing some of our levels. All right, we're gonna notice that there is a weekly zone here. Kind of zoom in so we can get more accuracy. And so when we're drawing this zone, I want to start where price actually closed, which was here at the bottom of this bearish wick. When we do have those gaps in price, instead of trying to put it here for accuracy, the way that I do it, at least, I'm not saying I'm 100% right, just the way that makes sense to me is to do it from where price closed, and then on the bottom here we're going to just intersect all these wicks here, and that'll give us a weekly zone to be interested in potentially for a reaction off of. We do have a zone here as well, right here. So basically this whole thing is actually a zone from 20,520, basically 20,520 all the way up to 20,660 is a potential sell zone. So that's an area we'll pay attention to for potential sell setups. One thing to note about the way that last week closed, we had a zone here. We had it marked up kind of from here. Actually, it was from here. Yeah, this whole little area here. And we'll notice that we closed above and we stayed above to end the week. As much as we tried to push down last week, we closed above on this weekly. So I'm not surprised to see us push up, all the way to this weekly resistance level pretty much on Sunday, leading up to the first trading day of the week. So just something to note that we did close here, and we are tapping back into a potential sell-off area here. All right, so the way that I'm kind of going to look at this whole thing is we already retested this here, and you can see we broke the high of that. So I'll go ahead and put more interest in this whole little sell zone from up here, and we'll mark it up. Weekly zone. Okay. Drag it over here so we can remember it a little better. So that's that. As far as to the top side, we also have another zone up here, so we'll just note this, but we won't necessarily consider it something that may happen this week. And I'll put it here, another weekly zone. It could pop up there, but that'd be obviously if we saw just major moves up. And even before that, we got this one here. So there's a few little zones that will be areas of interest on the weekly chart. It's always very important to mark up your chart so that you remember what's going on in these areas. Because if it's, if it's important enough for you to mark it up, it's important enough to remember exactly what it is. So unless it's you have a color coded system or something like that, it's good to, put some words to some of these charts so that you know for sure. So we got our weekly levels to the top side. We'll see how market reacts to it. This will be the first touch back into this zone. It depends, I guess. We kind of, if we were drawing the zone down to this wick here, we had a reaction here already, but there could be more liquidity up here since it's more accurate up here. We'll see what the market does if we do get a sell side reaction when it taps into the zone on the weekly. And then just simply because it only makes sense, we just need to remember that there was a very strong zone from here to, we'll call it here, that could, continue to play out. So kind of the most basic way of looking at it is, you would try potentially take shorts from this zone and take buys from this zone, potentially, unless there was a major breakthrough. All right, let's take a look at the daily now. As far as the daily goes, we're currently at this, this zone here where we saw a big sell-off from. And we're back up at that price. So it's one thing to pay attention to. And we did tap the 200 moving average, the 200 EMA, and we got a small reaction from it. So I've seen the EMA reactions kind of, react, pop above, and then get a major reaction later. We'll see if that's the case with this one. We simply will just note that we're currently back above the 200 EMA, and we'll see how the market reacts to it if it holds above. Let's see what else on the daily. Is there any other zones to note or fresh liquidity anywhere that stands out? When we're charting, you don't need to, sometimes certain things will stand out perfectly to you immediately, but that's not always the case. So when that doesn't happen, you just kind of try to find everything you can. But if it doesn't immediately stand out to you, then just know, hey, maybe the daily or that particular time frame isn't going to have a really big influence on the week. It may be like, hey, the weekly zones are going to be where it's at, or the 4-hour zones, or whatever. But we will definitely try to find some type of information from it. So we do have this level here. So, and I noticed this on the daily when I was looking earlier. We definitely have a level here that we just popped back above, and it's been a strong level as far as holding the market up, keeping the market down, holding the market up, keeping the market down. So we'll see what it does here. So it's important to wait for some type of signal on that time frame, within this area, to know like, hey, we're potentially going to react. We've done it before. Let's see if we do it again. Wait for whatever lower time frame entry strategy you might use will be helpful. But just notice that, and I'll mark this up with red, since I typically put red as daily. So there wasn't anything over here that stood out daily wise to me, but when we actually went back, it started to stand out. We'll say about here. Then let's see. That's the main one that stands out in this area besides these weekly levels. And let's take a look at the 4-hour. All right, so price is over here. And so when I'm looking at price in this context where I'm trying to find 4-hour levels, I'm going to be basically looking at the chart from left to right, finding where price, this little etched line here will show us where price is, or dashed, I should say, line will show us where price is. And I can just kind of just look for levels above and below, and just, map out 2 or 3 levels above and below as just a guide to potentially how the market may react. So price is currently here. Let me zoom in a bit. See this 4-hour level here. We got a really big move from here. So we still are looking at this level right here as a level to pay attention to, and I'll make it blue. So blue. Let's see how the market reacts a little later. Now that we're currently above this price, pre-market. We had a move here from the 20,700-ish level. And just notice all the wicks. That's basically how I'm able to find the levels, is just simply using the wicks. If you just find a place where all the wicks kind of intersect, it'll give you a decent idea. And so it's there, a bunch of wick intersections there, and if we just draw price over with the horizontal ray, it may be a place to pay attention to later. See if we get some type of market reaction. Here. So let's pay attention to over here. This price was really important last week. We had these two areas where the market couldn't break above or below. So when we're noticing things like that, we finally broke above, so it'll be important when we come back to retest this to see if we're able to hold this level, since it was kind of stuck in this little zone for, about 3 days. Yeah, about 3 days. And so when we broke, we're above it now, so we'll see if we're able to hold and then potentially take a move back up to here from it, or potentially up to there, or just up to this zone. Wouldn't be surprised to see price start to react up here and maybe push down to this zone to reconfirm price. So I will mark this area up. Actually, let me go ahead and do another line here. So we got price there. We know what that is, and then we'll draw a zone. Going across just to remind us that this is what this was. Then obviously we have this area down here. And the new level down here, as far as what I'm seeing, it's kind of shifted. So it was here, and we were, kind of dinking around and able to, to do our thing. And this is the level where, I just knew we weren't able to get below. So I was thinking coming into the week we'd be bullish, at least temporarily this week, seeing as this level had held for so much last week. And obviously we were trying to push down due to the 200 EMA, but we weren't able to close under this level here once and do it with much confirmation. We'd wick below, but then close back above, and did that pretty much the whole time. So we'll see how the market reacts to that, but that's just a level to keep in mind. That 130 level is still a level to keep in mind. And if we're able to get below this 130 level and this zone here, that could be a really, really big bearish signal there. Let's find one more level. We got some in here. Got some in here. Let's see. So it'll be somewhere in this 19, somewhere around that 19.8 level. Use a line chart, go back to candles, and then just find a place where a bunch of wicks intersect. And we'll do it here. We'll basically make it here. As this the most recent price action down here, and that's where the most information, or the freshest information, is going to be with this here. We'll see how it plays out with that zone. We'll just call it here. All right. So we'll see if we're able to push up into this zone, if we get a reaction. And again, this zone is the 20,580 level to the 20,660 level. So it's about an 80-point zone. And with that zone, there could be a major move down to, maybe this 20,435, even back down to this 20,260-ish level. So just definitely, this week will be an interesting week. Just wait for confirmations. The levels will be the key, and what price does at these levels, and kind of going from there. So let's go down one more time frame and kind of see. I don't think that'll really be helpful. Let's go to the 8-hour, check it out. Back up at this level again. Really important level on the 8. Major sell-off from there. I'm not sure if that was one of the tariff sell-offs or not, but it likely is. Retesting this level here on the 6-hour. Just tapped at the 550. So we'll pay attention to that price action to see if that means anything. Yeah, but you guys definitely, hopefully your levels are close to what these are, and hopefully you have some of your own levels that make sense to you. And we'll see how this week goes with this format, to where we do videos and try to, see if you guys are able to navigate. And I just want to help you guys. I want you guys completely dependent on my execution. I want you guys to be able to take some context and then execute on your own and start to build your own confidence and things like that. So we'll see how this week goes, and then we'll go from there. And who knows, you guys may crush it and love this format, or you guys may simply prefer trading live with me. But I do want to empower you guys. I want you guys completely dependent on me, because what happens if I'm like, hey, I'm bored trading futures, I want to trade something else now. I would hate for that to be something that stops you guys from becoming better. So anyways, let's make it a great trading week, and we'll talk in the Discord.